Welcome, everybody, to the Entrepreneurial CPA Show. We're here to take a deep dive into knowledge you need to break free of the box and become the world-changing entrepreneur we know you want to be. Our co-host, Dr. Sean, is still locked down in New Jersey, so it's just me, Garrett Wagner, hitting you up with the knowledge you need. And today we've got our special themed episode, Tired of Taxes. Again, brought to you by the National Association of Certified Valuers and Analysts, or just NACVA for short, nice and easy. For the past 30 years, they've helped thousands of CPAs establish the authority in matters of value and become today's financial super consultants. And in this special show, as always, we're to talk more about being tired of taxes and the journey these people made away from the world of taxes to the exciting world of being consultants and advisors. And because of everything going on right now with COVID-19, we'll touch base on how COVID-19 has played into their role as super consultants. So our special guest for today, without further waiting, we've got Sherry Jordan back again, CEO of Jordan Financial Consulting and Coaching, and Jason Pierce, partner with Edelstein & Company in Boston, Massachusetts. It's great to have you both on the show. And like I said, this is a really unique time with COVID-19. Business owners need so much more from us than ever before. And Sherry, I'd love to kind of hear from you to start with. How has this kind of changed your practice and what you're doing for your clients than you were doing 60 days ago?
So I was sharing with you, I think before we got started with our call, that I focus on small business. So I'm looking at typically working with companies with revenue in the $250,000 to $750,000 range, maybe even smaller. Couple years into business, maybe 2 to 5 years into business. 2 to 10 to 12 employees. So small companies that are experiencing varying degrees of essential activity based on where they're based on the type of service that they provide. So actually most of the businesses I'm working with have been considered essential. Some have been able to stay fully operational, like in manufacturing, for example. Some of them, even though they're essential in servicing essential businesses, the businesses they're serving have a drop in revenue. So I've got some clients that are looking at 90% decline in revenue compared to expectations so far in the quarter. So we're doing a lot of work around analyzing financial statements, cash flow positions, coaching them because of their size into that concept of a business continuity plan. A lot of the language has been, there will be another virus. So what do you need to do right now to prepare yourself for the next time? Hopefully it'll be a few years down the road, but we can't get caught because these are small businesses. Some have been caught. We can't get caught in this pickle again when it happens. You need to be ready to go remote. You need to be willing to take on some debt. So I've got some that have done a wonderful job, 10 or 15 years in business, debt averse, ran a business without debt. And so the PPP, for example, was real scary to consider, even though the interest rates were low, when you've never taken on debt in your business at all, to get that mindset shift to sometimes taking on some debt is what's going to take you to the next level. So a lot of conversations around that and around what that can mean for cash flow and long-term planning.
That's great. And it's one of those things, I've seen the same thing. Some businesses just are debt adverse, and talking them and kind of like in your title, coaching as well, coaching them through this. So how has the skills you learned with the NACVA helped you get ready to do that? Because those aren't skills a lot of tax preparers and practitioners feel like they have today.
Yeah, so my training is really focused a lot since 2012 is when I got started on the path toward being a CVA, and everything I've done since 2012, I was officially certified in early 13. Everything that I've done since then has been in this consulting and coaching realm. It's just a more dynamic and interactive experience with clients than you get just being a traditional tax preparer. So I get to have the conversations with them about what's going on in their business. I get to have, I enjoy it. I enjoy entrepreneurs and learning about how they had the courage to take on this task and make it a business, and what their struggles were, and I guess just that opportunity to stay involved and continue to develop that. And where I get that from NACVA, I would say is just connecting with colleagues that are like-minded and doing the same things. I mean, all of us got there because we want to add greater value to the work that we're bringing to our clients, and found that this more interactive value-added piece that we do with valuation and all of the coaching and the consulting that you can draw out of what you learn in a business valuation process has been huge. I've known Jason for several years now too, and we get to connect at the conferences, and so just getting to sit down with colleagues and share how we're helping our clients each day has been very, very valuable. And I get that more than anything from NACVA.
Well, speaking of that camaraderie and kind of doing things differently, let's hear from Jason now. Jason used to live in Alaska. He's in Boston now, rocking the stay-at-home beard. Jason, thank you for joining us.
Sure. No, happy to be here. Thank you.
So Jason, how has the NACV allowed you to make that journey from traditional tax practitioner, which you were, into this now valuation expert, this consultant expert, getting ready to hit the witness stand hard? How did it help you make that journey?
Yeah, for sure. And just kind of adding to what Sherry just said, there's a lot of collegiality associated with this. So when and prior to being certified, I was already teaching auditing, and I taught some tax classes, financial statements analysis, all that good stuff. But once I got into this sector, then it's almost like you had to have some folks to help you along the way. Otherwise, like, how do you know you're right? You could know the theory, but if you don't know how to check your work, and especially if you're on your own, how are you going to do with that? So for me, I've talked to Brian Jones. I think everybody in the valuation world knows Brian Jones at this point, and said, hey, I want to teach for you guys one day. And he's like, oh, really? Here, why don't you review this manual? And then when you're done with that, I'll give you another manual. And eventually they let me in front of a live studio audience. So.
Yeah, they decided, was this without a beard back then? That was part of the requirement?
Yeah, a little less gray too. But that, the gray in the beard actually gives you a little bit of gravitas, which is important in the courtroom. So.
Well, I think it's one of the key things versus, when you're working inside a CPA firm, and, I work with a lot of CPA firms around the country. Most don't like to reach out to their peers for help. I mean, look at what we're going through right now with this PPP loan thing. Very few firms that I know are connecting with anybody else to do it. Everyone's kind of like in a foxhole trying to figure out for themselves. We're all figuring out the same thing. The PPP is no different in Boston and PA and New York and California. It's the same thing. That camaraderie can go a long ways. So Jason, also speaking of books, you mentioned books. I believe you've got a book you want to show us. This is the first time we've had a guest bring a book on the show.
Yeah,
so I want to
I will flash it here in a second, but yeah, you bring up a good point. I had somebody when I first started, it's like, well, why would you teach? You're just breeding your own competition. But I think with the membership at large, especially like as diversified as we are, like Sherry's in Pennsylvania, just the ability to kind of reach out of your area is so important. Because if you're not so close that you're going to be tainted by whatever case, and actually to hear a different perspective, like, oh, in this state it's fair market value versus fair value, having that differentiation perspective is really important. But one of the things I did brought the book is thematic with the course. This is one of the books that I read when I first got into this, and this is one by Pratt and Judge Laro. It's really, and I think it's important from the perspective of you are a tax practitioner, having that ability to understand where officer's comp is on the financial statement, and knowing how to understand how that translates with, like, say, the operating business to the real estate entity and back and forth. And there's a big tax component when you're figuring out what is the future expectation. Well, somebody's going to pay the tax. Okay, then how much? And having that background as a CPA or a tax practitioner, I think will help smooth the transition into a business valuation career.
So Jason, have you totally moved away from tax preparation and that side of the practice?
Yeah, I'm too dangerous to let me in front of that. So yeah, I stopped doing that about 10 years ago. Yeah.
How much happier are you now that you've moved away from taxes?
I mean, for me, I'm much happier. For one, I'm not a checklist kind of person. So like just having the ability to think it out for myself. And again, like, how do you check your work? Well, look at it from a couple different angles. So so I guess I'm much happier, although there's a lot of benefits to it. You know, I love connecting the dots on the economy. I love meeting the people and the business owners and being around like high motivated people, although they don't always want to see you coming. The downside is, and there's always a downside, you know, being around people that either, you know, don't want to see you coming, they don't like your number, they don't want to pay your bill, they don't like you necessarily. So you do have to kind of balance that with, okay, I do have this like intercom that if I have a lot of stress and anger coming at me, that I could just deal with that and be able to articulate what's on my mind when I'm in the hot seat, you know, the courtroom. But you know, I like that challenge. So at the end of the day, it might be tough, but looking back after I've done a case, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Versus like, okay, well, here's your big fat audit report or your tax return with your 10 different states. And they're like, thanks, I don't understand it. I'll just sign it. And you're just kind of looking backwards instead of from a valuation perspective, you're looking forwards. And I just like that perspective.
And that's so important as we make that shift from backwards looking practitioners to forward looking. And something else you hit on, I want to kind of ask Sherry about this, is you're just more excited and passionate about what you do. So Sherry, how has the NACVA helped you focus on what you're passionate and excited about when you work with your clients?
So I think Jason was starting to touch on it a little bit, and I know you and I have talked about it in the past too. You were hinting at it a little bit, I think, with your question for Jason, is just the importance of knowledge sharing. I'm bombarded all the time by, you know, professional, like I could, as a small business owner, I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I'm a fairly fresh startup. I could use help with marketing. I'm not going to say that I don't need that. Of course I do. I know how to do it. Do I want to focus my time on that, or do I need some additional support to make it more effective? Probably, but I'm bombarded all the time with how-tos and products, and, you know, just looking for opportunities for someone that wants to do more knowledge sharing, more than selling. I think is something that I personally value, and I experience that a lot with my colleagues with NACVA. You definitely see amongst the team that's doing a lot of the teaching and the coaching within the community, a great sense of camaraderie, even if they don't agree. And there's certainly valuation theory and valuation points that they're still debating and challenging each other on, but just kind of being open-minded and doing it in a really academic and educational way. I guess I feel that more than any other organization. And I'm a CPA. I'm in several professional organizations, and I just get the most support and the largest sense of community out of NACVA compared to any of the organizations I belong to. It's real valuable. And just having the opportunity to be involved with the community at this level helps me feel like I'm at the front end of the latest theoretical concepts, and I'm around the best people in the country to take my questions to. That's just incredible.
And that's important. How do we help those around us, our stakeholders, our community, doing more than, as Jason said, you give people a tax return, they're never very excited. It's a tax return. Yeah. Providing true value to them makes a difference.
Yeah.
So Jason, let me kick it back to you. What are you doing right now during COVID-19 besides growing the beard to kind of, with your time, to kind of to de-stress or just to get through the working day? What's occupying your time right now that you wouldn't be doing right now a year ago?
Yeah. I mean, the first week definitely weighed heavy on my mind. I think because I'm just like a go all the time, and then to just like, all right, you're going to stop, and you may leave the house to go to the grocery store, but you're off your game. So now I'm much more try to be more disciplined and stay on a routine. But I'm also using the time available by not having to go commute to my job. I've been wrestling with this article for a long time, and it's a lot bigger than I expected it was going to be, but it's coming out the way that I think I need it to be. So yeah, I'm doing that, and then just kind of taking the opportunity. I'm doing a lot of virtual marketing, like these Zoom meetings, which as an introvert, it's so easy for me to be like, well, cool, I'll just hang out in my house for the next 6 weeks. But it's also, I think, important to just stay in contact, because a lot of this business is the attorneys will hire the last person that they talk to. So just even if it's difficult, being proactive about it. And like I said, with the article, I'm going to kind of broadcast that out to the world. But certainly the Zoom meetings and stuff help that way.
Awesome. So Sherry, how about you? What are you doing to kind of de-stress and enjoy your own life right now?
That started this week, actually, because I did do some more taxes this year than I've done in the past to keep, just to help to keep the light on, which I didn't mind. I actually haven't done heavy duty taxes either for probably 10 years. So I appreciated kind of really diving in deep a little bit to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which is still fairly fresh. I'm definitely still dealing with clients that are like, I guess that rule changed. I'm like, yeah, it's been 2 years now, but yes, it changed. And just kind of talking people through. I like to catch them now before they get to the stage where Jason was talking, where they're like, yeah, thanks for that, but I don't get it. I really like to catch them early in the process and teach them, whether they listen or not, but some are listening, the importance of understanding. Even if you eventually want to farm out some of that stuff, understand it so that you can make a difference with it. So what I'm doing, so anyway, that's been very, very busy. I'm going to scale back. This week has been a little bit of a breather for me. Sunday was my first official day off since January, and I went hiking, which was wonderful. I'm in central PA, so there's a great place called Hawk Rock that overlooks the Susquehanna and Juniata rivers, and it was more crowded than I was expecting because I think everybody's looking for something different to do to get out of the house, and hikes are allowed. So at least where we are, hikes are allowed. So there were a lot of hikers out compared to what I'm used to seeing. But that, I practice yoga. So I get a yoga class in a minimum of once a week at home in front of my fireplace, which actually is wonderful. And eating healthy. But I actually, I already was remote. The role of my work has already been remote, and then I just am out for meetings and that sort of thing. So I miss the going out for meetings, but the remote part was actually a pretty simple transition for me. And I'm not an introvert. I'm in the middle. I definitely test extrovert, but I'm like just over the line is usually what I tell people. So it's not easy for me. I need a lot of prep to get in front of the camera, but usually once I'm there, I'm okay. And I want to use this time to showcase my clients and showcase small business. I'm working with a few local professionals that are doing things like that, just giving our clients the opportunity to tell the story of who they are and what their central role is and why it's important to them to stay in business. Lots of hashtag shop local support, and I want to just be a part of uplifting my local small business community to stay alive and have something ready to hit the ground running with. So that doesn't feel like work, I guess. So I just enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, it's nice when your kind of passions can align with your quote unquote work and they come together like that. And that's why our roles are so great right now. We can do so many things to support our clients, our community, all of our key stakeholders, that it makes the work rewarding, even though there's a lot going on. So with that, we're almost out of time. Jason, any final words from you, the man with the beard?
Just going back to the theme of this, there's so many opportunities to transition from, say, tax preparation. If nothing else, to just kind of during the off season have the kind of dabble. There's a lot of dabblers in this profession, but the obvious choice is gift and estate work. The downside is that's a pretty crowded space because everybody likes the gift and estate work. But if you have an existing client base, that's an easy sort of transition. Certainly divorce work, although I would caution you about doing divorce work for your existing clients. But the thing about getting certified in valuation, there's so many opportunities, and as we see with this current pandemic, you kind of need to have a couple balls up in the air. So if you drop one, well, you still got a couple others that you can juggle. So having the ability to just kind of round out your skill set, it's fun, but it's also challenging, and there's opportunities there.
And that's why this can be a great time, whether you're kind of working remotely, you're at home a little bit more, take that dive in the NACVA, get your CVA, study for it now. We're at home, you can't go outside, make that investment in yourself. I think like you just heard from Sherry and Jason, you'll be pretty excited by what happens as a result. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Thank both Jason and Sherry for being here with us. And if you're tired of taxes, tired of the grind, Tired of another busy season? Join the thousands of CPAs who specialize in business valuation. Transform your financial consulting career with the most widely recognized business valuation credential there is, the Certified Valuation Analyst, or CVA. To learn more about get started with this, visit the link below. There's a special 10% off code right now for our entrepreneurial CPA show watchers. Start your path today. Don't go through another tax season. Trust me, you're not going to miss it. And as always, we challenge you to take action to change the world and invest in yourself.